I want to talk about an Australian and New Zealand legend. So some of you may never have heard of Nancy Wake, but to the Nazis she was known as the White Mouse, and they called her that because they just couldn't catch her no matter how hard they tried. She was one of the most decorated resistance fighters in World War II, and she outran the Nazis not just once, but twice. So Nancy had been born in New Zealand, raised in Australia, but by the time World War II kicked in, she was living in France. She'd seen fascism rise firsthand, and decided she wasn't having it. So when the Nazis invaded France, Nancy joined the resistance. At first she was smuggling messages, then supplies, and then eventually went on to smuggling people. She was clever, fearless, and known for being 2 steps ahead of the Nazis. Gestapo agents were constantly chasing her, so she would change her name, forge documents, slip between borders. At one point she was even at the top of their most wanted list, and she apparently had a 5 million franc price on her head, which I don't know what that means in modern money, but seems like a lot. Of course, as time went on, it was harder and harder for her to evade the Nazis, and by 1943 it really seemed like that net was starting to close in on her. France was no longer safe, and so Nancy made a run for it. And when I say made a run for it, I mean literally. She hiked across the Pyrenees Mountains to escape into Spain, in winter, on foot. And so against all odds, she manages that. She made it safely into Spain, and so that's the first time that she managed to outrun the Nazis. But of course we know she didn't stop there. She made her way over to Britain, joined the Special Operations Executive where they trained her as a spy. And when she was all trained up, they dropped her back into France in the dead of night. They dropped her behind enemy lines with orders to sabotage the Nazi supply lines, train up the resistance fighters over there, and pretty much just cause general chaos, which she happily obliged to. She helped to blow up bridges, derail trains, and destroy some vital communication lines for the Nazis. While she was over there, she commanded over 1,000 resistance fighters, a lot of who were men, which was a very big deal at the time. And this brings us around to the second time that she was able to evade the Nazis. So at one point she was out on a mission with a group and they lost their radio codes. They had no way of getting in touch with their allies. They reached a point where they very desperately needed to be able to contact London. So Nancy biked over 500 kilometers through Nazi territory in just 3 days to reconnect with the Allied command. If she'd been caught doing this, she would almost certainly have been killed. But she wasn't, and she made it again. So that was the second time that she outran them. And by the end of the war, she'd become a bit of a legend. She was awarded medals by France, Britain, and the US, but when she came back to Australia, hardly anyone knew about her. It took a while for Australia to catch up and realise what a badass she was. But Nancy was never in it for the glory. She just hated bullies and saw the Nazis as the worst possible bullies. So the next time that you think that maybe one person can't make that much of a difference, remember Nancy, how she fought the Nazis twice and won.